So, hey, Evan, thanks for coming and sitting down with me, getting to talk
Absolutely.
and learn about you today.
Yeah.
So, could you just introduce yourself for the camera?
Yeah, absolutely. So my name's Evan. I've been positioned as a Utah sales manager for SolarWorks. I'm 21, young in the industry, and just ready to kill it out there. There's really not much more. I'm definitely a hustler. I've been doing business since I was incredibly young. We'll definitely dive into that more later. But yeah, definitely excited to come on and chat with you and share more about myself.
And for anybody that doesn't know, I'm Alex. I'm the photographer and videographer here at SolarWorks, and Evan is kind enough to sit down with me so we can learn a little about him today. So, do you want to start off kind of telling us about yourself and like kind of how you ended up here at SolarWorks?
Yeah, so my background is a lot in sales. So I've been doing sales since I was incredibly young, like I mentioned. This is something that I used to tell a lot of people that I work with. So in the second grade, do you remember like the Scholastic Book Fair?
Yeah, of course.
So it comes
Yeah.
like once a year, maybe twice a year if you're in a really nice school, right?
Right.
And so
Yeah.
it only come a couple times. What I would do when I was 7, I would purchase a bunch of the books. They'd be like a couple dollars a piece, right? So I have all the books. They're sitting in like my desk or whatever, or in my locker, in my cubby. Once the fair leaves, I would just sell them to all my friends. I'd be like, hey, I got these books. They're $5 a piece for you. Maybe if I like you, it'd be like $4 or something like that.
Man. Okay. Yeah.
But yeah, so like that's kind of where my upbringing was. I was born in Texas, haven't really gone back since. But I was mostly just like raised outside of Philadelphia. And so like that was kind of my thing growing up. Started a couple businesses of my own. Did okay, wasn't like super amazing. But then eventually I did get into business consulting. And that's where like my career really took off. Why SolarWorks? I think something that shocked me was how open they were to me being this young. And so their openness to that, their willingness to work with me and actually like educate me and help me transition while giving me big responsibility was something that was uncommon to me. So I think that gave me a lot of comfort with coming into SolarWorks, with switching over from a consulting lifestyle over to completely solar and sales in this environment.
And so, could you kind of detail for me some of your previous jobs and how you kind of got the experience to become a salesperson here at SolarWorks?
Yeah. I mean, outside of selling Scholastic Book Fair books,
Right.
you know?
Exactly. Yeah. That's how you got your very first job.
Exactly, my
Right.
very first gig. No, so I think my most previous work would probably be the most relevant, I would say, as far as it goes into sales. So I'm still currently working there, not very heavily involved, but it's a company called Mobile Growth Association. And so within starting a mobile app, like you have to figure out ways to like retain your customers, engage them, drive ROI and things like that. And so there's a whole niche in mobile apps called mobile marketing essentially. And so what they do is they do conferences across the globe. So they've taken me to London, Berlin, San Francisco, and things like that. What I do for them is I drive sponsor revenue. And so what that means, right, is when we have these like a couple 100-person, 1,000-person shows, I'll basically find people that will want to have booths or will want to speak. And so that's what I've done most recently. In one quarter, I acquired for them 250K. And then within a 1-year span, I drove 1.3 million revenue. And so that was probably 90% me. So if I was to look at my actual stats, it'd probably be like $1 million a year for them. And so that was really where like my profession kicked off, because yes, I was doing sales before that. Like I had started a couple businesses of my own, but that was when I learned how to like refine my skills as a salesman and bring it into B2B commerce. And so B2B is something that I really enjoy just because it's such on a personal level. You get to meet people. In this case, I got to meet people across the globe. It definitely stretched and pulled me. Like I still do have sometimes like 2 a.m. evenings and like 5 a.m. mornings because I'll have people in different time zones. But that was probably my most relevant and probably the most interesting, to be truthful with you.
Yeah.
Other positions before that, like being a consultant, like I've done work for Anytime Fitness. I've done work for a lot of restaurants and nightclubs in Utah in the Salt Lake region. And that was more like photography, event based and things like that. There was another client there, a door-to-door sales force called BK Marketing. And I helped them build out their strategic partnerships. Once again, like that B2B influence, right? And that's definitely where like my stronghold is.
Okay. And so, I mean, obviously, you have like a very long line of experience, even for your age. So, this isn't an entry-level position for you. How do you think? What is like the difference between those positions and SolarWorks, and why did you decide to come here?
Yeah.
Take your experience here.
That's a really great question. So I think for me, it's about having a control of what I can do, right? Within sales, there's something unique about having full control of your performance to a certain degree, right? Like obviously, like you could have really bad weeks and it could be absolute trash.
Right.
But like within sales, a lot of the times it's whatever you put in, you're gonna get. And so coming into an entry level position and stepping down from like those executive and C-suites, SolarWorks did offer me a special opportunity. And so they wanted me to oversee their Utah office and basically help with expansion. And so stepping into that Utah office role, you could almost see it as like opening a franchise where you have full control of like what goes into the office, like what your team looks like, what the structure looks like, but you also have this long-standing, very high performance and well-built brand. Because that's really what SolarWorks is. There's a reason that we work with Panasonic, right? That we're an elite installer, that our panels are incredibly efficient.
Right.
And that's all been really well structured by the team here in Albuquerque. And so once I'd gotten to know that a little bit more from the leaders and on my own research, and I was actually able to see like those sales performance, it's really good. Like it's that was probably the most compelling thing, is that something that's a sustainable resource that is selling very well says a lot about the market.
Right.
And so I think for me, I wouldn't even say it's me coming down from a position. It's me being able to oversee, take over, and have a full hand in expanding a long-standing, well-structured business.
Exactly. Yeah, so obviously seeing how much success you've had already here in just such a short amount of time, what would be your advice to someone looking to get into sales and looking specifically to get into sales at SolarWorks?
Yeah, that's a really, and I get asked that a lot. Like for me, myself, over the past year, I've probably had close to 20 interns.
Right.
And so that's one thing that's really big for me, is mentoring. And so if I were to say, like if I were to be speaking to someone through the camera, through the lens of someone that's watching this video of why they should go into sales, it's because, like I mentioned in the previous question, it's something you have full control of. And that says a lot about a person. So not only does it involve like really good work ethic and being able to maintain your own personal schedule and making sure that you're still having balance within your own personal life, you're gonna reap rewards. I mean, end of day, people who are in sales are in it for a reason, and it's probably because they might be saving up for something big. They might want to eventually start their own business, and they need a jump start. And so that's why sales probably was the first industry that I was interested in, is because I wanted that soft launch. And so that being said, is if I was to give advice of someone who was looking to get into sales, I'd say like you gotta be ready. Like you gotta be prepared for like late nights, early mornings, things like that. Obviously, it's not always gonna be like that. You're gonna have great months where it performs really well, but end of day is like you should be prepared for the absolute worst. Along the lines of that is like if you're going into sales, you need to have like concrete numbers of how much time you need to input to how much you should be getting back.
Right.
And so I think it comes down to like your own personal performance of like, okay, I've been able to put in like 50 hours this week, and I like a regular job would get me like, I think like $1,200 or something like that. But in sales, it's a little bit more aggressive than that. You're gonna have some weeks where you need to put in 70 hours and you might only get a couple grand. and it might be vice versa. And so my advice there would just be like, be a little OCD with your time, you know? Like pay attention to every single detail of what you're doing. Really mark that out. What are your key performance metrics? Like what are your most important things that you need to be spending your time on in order to get the return that you would like to see? As far as someone who goes into SolarWorks, I'd say those same exact things. I would definitely say that there is going to be like a little bit of physical work, right? Like you're going to be knocking doors, be prepared for that. But end of the day, it just comes down to like your time in front of the decision maker is the most important thing in sales, and SolarWorks gives you that opportunity, right? Because I think there's something to note here with door-to-door sales, and I'll jump right into solar after it. But the reason why door-to-door is so good for solar is because when you knock doors, you're getting right in front of the decision maker. When I was doing B2B sales, I went through multiple layers to get to the right person.
Right.
And the average sale is about 30 grand, right? And so when you're talking with that many decision makers and homeowners, it's a time game.
Yeah.
That's all it really is.
Yeah.
And it's all up to how much time it's going to take, how much you can input in that time, and so that you can maximize your time in front of homeowners. Because there is also another thing is like, yes, you could totally market it. You could do Facebook ads and things like that. But a Facebook ad isn't going to make you sit there and listen to your pitch for the next 45 seconds, right? And so that's kind of why door-to-door is so good. And so that's what something with SolarWorks is like getting good at it. So it's just the fact that this company has so many resources. Like when I'm telling you that like this is one of the most elite training programs I've ever gone through, that's a simple fact. Because what they have is they have at least 3 concrete resources, not of their own, but just of third-party information that's been tried and true, right? And so when you're coming into, because a lot of people will be like, no, I don't know about door-to-door and things like that, is it's like rest easy because this company has done the absolute most in making sure that you have all the tools in your toolbox, all the tricks, all of the tips and things like that. And that's just the program itself. And so, but when you talk about the company environment, that for me was something that, like, yes, I was already engaged, but that's what locked me in. So SolarWorks is really a place of education. Like we have meetings every Monday of, okay, what are we all struggling with and what can we be better at? And it's not just someone up there just spilling whatever they feel like. This is tried and true things. And just the environment of what all the other teammates bring, like I mentioned, just highlighting on that education. Everyone is here to learn. They're here to share what they know, and they're here to be able to help you succeed, right? And so that's so unique because in a corporate environment, which I've been in, it's not like that. It is not like let's hold hands and support each other. It's more of like you do your thing while you're over there and I'm over here doing my thing, right? And so there's obviously some competitive nature, like people want to be the best and things like that. But end of the day, if you come in with a strong work ethic, like a desire, even a desire to be motivated and to be ambitious and to be hardworking, like you're absolutely gonna love it here because people here thrive off of that energy. And if not, they're probably at the same level as you. They want to be as driven. They want to be successful. They want to get a Tesla or like a good down payment on their home. Everyone wants things, and SolarWorks is the perfect channel to get there.
Yeah, exactly. So I know you said that you kind of wanted to bring this up as well. Just going off of that, like, did you want to talk about why solar itself and like why SolarWorks is the way to go for that?
Yeah, because solar. So when I was younger, I was living in just outside of Philadelphia. My family got geothermal. And so one, that was a great experience. I think that like I was probably only like 10 or 12, but I remember it just being something nice that we could have, right? Like we weren't worrying much about like what temperature it's gonna be at. It was kind of just something that added to our home that we could live more comfortably in. And I think that for me is what I've noticed big time with solar is that people aren't worried, because like a lot of them will have spouses. They're like, yeah, my wife likes it at like 50 degrees in the summer, and I'm like, dude, that's great. I love that, you and your wife. I'm the same way. Solar is the way to go, right? And so I think in addition to that, I mean, that's obviously like the greatest benefit of it is just flexibility with your power. But in addition to that, it's just saving money. End of the day, we're living in a pandemic. Like, unemployment's really high. People are struggling to pay their bills. And once again, like, that's why SolarWorks is such a good company, because it brings those resources. Like, the fact that we have multiple financing options, we can work with people's budgets. And it's end of the day, it's really for their benefit. And that's something for me that drives me and motivates me at the door, is me knowing that we have the best product, we have the best operations, and we have the best team to deliver a renewable energy source for them. And once again, like, we're partnered with Panasonic. They're a Fortune 100 company that's been around for ages and will continue to be, because they're so diversified. And so when that is our backbone, and like I know that it's a good company, it's just about how I deliver it. And that's why I keep working on myself and trying to maintain like what's gonna be the most beneficial for a homeowner.
Right, exactly. Because you're helping them make an investment. You're helping them, in some cases, save money short-term and long-term. And it's also going to be something good for the environment, right? And they're getting like very consistent and trustworthy products out of the transaction. So in a lot of cases, I mean, it's just a no-brainer for a lot of people.
Oh, absolutely. And I think that's why like a lot of people in this company want to work on themselves, is because they know it's a good product. They know that we have really good operations, high quality products, great warranties and things like that. And it's just about us relaying that message in the right manner. And so that's why I was harping on just having a good quality work ethic, because you're gonna have to bring that same energy when you're coming into sales. You're gonna have to reword things consistently and have to find the best way to deliver it.
Yeah. All right. So you're going to be going off to Utah soon. Do you want to kind of just talk about what SolarWorks has done for you during your time in Albuquerque, and what do you like about Utah, and what are you excited about going out there and doing solar sales?
Yeah. So I'll just bring up this point again, because I think it's so important, is that whenever you're looking to join or go into any company, you have to look at like its work history, what its current standings are. Is it at a space where it's just trying to optimize, or is it scaling, right? And so that's one thing that I noticed very quickly about SolarWorks. And that's why I took the time. Like I went through like basically a 3 to 4 week training, so about a month, right? And that's a lot of my time. I like rarely delegate that much time, and it's because like SolarWorks, the fact that they were ready to invest that type of time and money into me was like, okay, I'm gonna reciprocate that back. And so back to your question of like, what has SolarWorks done for me, is during my time of training here, it's given me a lot more comfort in the business of like, okay, this is really going to be a long-standing company. They are not going anywhere. I say this truthfully. I really believe that SolarWorks is going to take over the Southwest. I don't see any other company with as high performance, as high of installments, and as high of just overall team and work ethic that I've seen at any company. And so going a little bit into Utah, like I've lived there for the past years. Vivint's tried to recruit me, pest control companies, security companies, and they all talk about growth. They're like, you're gonna find so much opportunity here. But end of the day is that I personally don't feel like they genuinely mean that. What I mean by that is that they don't give you the time, or they don't invest as much into you. For example, there was one company that was trying to recruit me. They were like, all of our employees, they have to pay to get into door-to-door con. They have to pay for their own resources and education as a door-to-door salesman. And so that was a little off-putting for me, because I feel like when I'm coming into a company, this is my time investment, right? And so when a company reciprocates that energy, going back into why I really believe in SolarWorks, that says a lot. Right? That they're ready to take on those expenses for you, that they want to do that for you, right? And so that's probably what SolarWorks has shown for me is that this is a place where I can build myself. And so as far as what I've gotten from SolarWorks is just that there are other people that are incredibly motivated.
Right.
Like there's a reason why there are so many interviews or that we go through so many pre-qualifications is because that we are building a long-standing team that we want to be here, that we want to invest into. And so when you're coming into this, it's not just like everyone else is just knocking doors and doing the thing or doing their job. It's just you're coming into a high performance company that loves its crew. Frankly, like they really do have a lot of love. And in addition to that, we're all here to learn.
Right.
And so it's so rare that you find environments like that where you can actually grow yourself. And so I've seen a lot of personal growth. I've been able to nitpick and fine tune areas that I could be performing better in sales. I've had a lot of leadership opportunities here that I've been able to like lead and help others. And so I think it's one, made me a better salesman, but also made me a better person that can be useful to others.
Right.
And so a better resource in that way, of like how I can be able to help others. Like these leaders here at SolarWorks have been able to help me. So going into Utah is an incredibly tough market. Given that there are so many door-to-door companies, it's so aggressive in door-to-door sales, it's gonna be a competitive market.
Right.
There's no question about it. Narrowing it down to solar, what's actually really interesting is there's an IKEA just, I wanna say like 40 minutes south of Salt Lake City. Their facility there is completely solar. And so IKEA being a corporate company coming into Utah, that says a lot, right? And that's extremely promising. Second thing is that Utah is ranked 11th as far as the most residential solar installations. And so that gives a lot of hope as well. And I think just in general, what's gonna be really unique is how we maneuver the market. And so not only is it gonna push me to be a better salesman, but it's gonna push our value proposition, right? And that's another reason why I like working with SolarWorks is that I know that we have high quality stuff. Like I'm not coming to their door, getting a sale and then leaving. This is a company that's gonna be long-standing. And so if I were to summate what I expect from Utah is I expect it to be a little tough at the beginning. I expect that growing a team is gonna be, it won't be too hard, but fine-tuning what they know and getting them into that SolarWorks education system and being high producers might be a little tough. But end of day is we have very promising notes of the market for us. I think it's going to be a really strong market for us. I think that we're going to be able to stand at a higher level compared to our competitors just because I've seen all their stuff. I've done my homework, you know? And so I truthfully know that like we have a more competitive product that will short and long term, like you mentioned, be able to actually benefit the homeowner.
Right, exactly. Yeah, and so getting ready to move out there, what are your plans for this year, 2021, and what are your plans for the future, say 5 to 10 years from now? What are you hoping to be able to accomplish?
For SolarWorks or for myself?
For SolarWorks in Utah.
Yeah. So one is we're at a very tender stage, right? So and I'll share a little bit about myself here. I myself see the age range between 18 and 25 being extremely tender years. The way that I mean that is because this 7 years is your block of education, career, and anything else that comes after that. Those are the 3 stages that you're gonna go through, and that amount of change already warrants it as a pivotal point in your life.
Right.
And so when we're speaking of those years, you're gonna take some losses. You're gonna lose sleep. You're gonna lose time, and it's gonna go by so fast yet so slow.
Definitely.
And so
definitely
for me, these are the years that I'm gonna give it my all. I think I'm going to be doing that for the rest of my life, but I'm going to be very careful about what I do within these next years. And so bringing that level of attention and intensity in my own life, carrying that into SolarWorks, I think is going to be massive.
Right.
Because what I want to do for SolarWorks within this next year will keep my brain less scattered. So for the next year, we're gonna really be focusing on building a solid team. Like, we want really high producers. We want people that are incredibly motivated and want to succeed, because I know that we have a good education system. Like, we're gonna give you all the resources possible. Next, after building a strong team, is building a community. Like, we want to be involved in the Utah community. We want to be able to help other businesses grow as well. And so we want to be able to find people that want to grow with us.
Right.
And so I think that's going to be a big part of building an established foundation for a company that's new into the area. Next, along the lines of that, is just, it's all about scaling at that point. If I have built a good team, if I have built good standards and good relations within the community, there is no reason that we should not be performing well and starting scaling sooner than later. I've been a business consultant. I've seen businesses grow too fast, and I've seen companies fail because of it. I don't expect any of that to happen with SolarWorks. We have really long-standing partners. I myself am someone that's gonna iron every detail out all the way to the finish line, and I'm not gonna stop until we get there. And so I really, what my goal is really to bring a lot of good energy into what we're gonna be producing at SolarWorks. I want my team to be able to trust me as a leader of theirs, to be able to give them all the tools necessary for success. And I have the same expectations for SolarWorks. SolarWorks has shown me a lot of what they want to do for the next upcoming years, and I trust that they'll hold their word to that. And as they do that, and as I bring that same level, it's just going to be a back and forth of growth and scaling.
Yeah, definitely.
But yeah, so that's definitely it for the next year. I think for the next 5 or 10 years, that's going to be a little bit more difficult to see, just because I don't have as much experience in the industry as I'd like to. But as far as what I've learned and as far as what I've seen, I would establish us being a leader in the industry. We have a lot of great content. We have a lot of great positioning as a company, and we have good quality. We're just a good quality brand. And so whenever a good quality brand like I mentioned, Panasonic, or any company really in the Fortune 100, they bring a lot to the industry.
Right.
And when companies do that, frankly, they take it over.
Yeah, exactly.
They take it over. They become more than, once they break that 50% market share within a business, they are the leader in that industry. And so if I was to give my estimate on a 5 to 10 year analysis of where I would see SolarWorks performing, I see us as a nationwide brand, a household name, of someone that gives back to the community and is well established. Those are the things that I would envision for SolarWorks to be in 5 years, and I expect myself to be here. I expect myself to be side by side with SolarWorks, building a strong and reputable brand that is giving the best quality to homeowners, because that's really what we're here to do. We send door-to-door people out to talk with the homeowner, see where they're at, do an actual consultation, not just we're going to give you panels, but of what's going to be the best fit for you. And I expect us to maintain that same quality and work ethic with the people that we have.
Right. Absolutely. All right. Well, is there anything else that you wanted to go over?
I think if I were to summarize everything that we've spoken on, is that I've appreciated a lot of the trust that SolarWorks has given me. They've invested a lot into me, and that says something about them as a growing company. They want to see growth as well. And so I think that a lot of the energy that I'll be bringing will be great for Utah. I think that once again, Utah is going to be a high performing market for us, just because of those signals that the market's given us. And at the end of the day, I'm here to grow solar. I'm here to grow this company. And I think that within the next couple of years, that we'll be a dominator in this industry. And that's really all we can expect.
Exactly. That's all we can hope for, right?
Exactly.
That's what we can keep pushing for.
Exactly.
All right. Well, Evan, dude, good luck in Utah, man. Can't wait to see what you do out there. Thanks for sitting down with me.
Yeah. Thanks, Alex.
All right. Yeah.